Before people in Africa used metal coins, they had many other kinds of money. This money was not like the coins we use today. It was often made from natural things. For example, people used cowrie shells. These small white shells came from the Indian Ocean. They were beautiful. They were hard to find. They were small enough to carry. Because of this, they were valuable. People in West Africa and other parts of the continent used cowrie shells to buy and sell goods for many centuries. They were a common form of currency, just like dollars are today. Another type of early money was salt. Salt was very important in ancient times. People needed it to preserve food. People needed it for their health. In places where salt was rare, like the Sahara, it became a form of money. Traders would cut large blocks of salt and use them to buy other things. In Ethiopia, people used salt bars called amole. These bars had a standard size and weight, so everyone knew their value. Imagine paying for your food with a big piece of salt. This shows how different money was back then. Metals were also used as money before they were made into coins. In the Congo region, people used copper crosses called Katanga crosses. These X-shaped pieces of metal had a specific value. They were easy to carry. They could be saved for later. You could use them to buy animals. You could use them to buy food. You could even use them to pay for a wedding. In West Africa, people used small iron pieces called kissy pennies. These were long, thin rods with a flat end. This early metal money was an important step. It showed that people understood the idea of using a standard item for trade. These different forms of money worked well for a long time. They were part of local traditions and economies. People trusted them because they were useful or beautiful. This system of using shells, salt, or metal pieces is called commodity money. The value of the money comes from the object itself. This is very different from our money today, which has value because a government says it does. Understanding this early money helps us see the beginning of a long and interesting history of currency in Africa. A history that would soon include the first round metal coins. The idea of using round metal coins came to Africa from other places. The first coins used in Africa were not made there. They came with traders, soldiers from Greece, Persia. Around 300 BC, a new era began in Egypt. Alexander the Great conquered Egypt after him. His general Ptolemy became king. The Ptolemaic kingdom was a Greek dynasty that ruled Egypt for almost 300 years. They introduced the first coins that were actually made in Africa. These coins looked very Greek. Ptolemaic coins were made of gold, silver, bronze. The designs on these coins were very important. They usually showed the face of the king or queen. Many coins had the portrait of Ptolemy I. On the other side, an eagle standing on a thunderbolt, a symbol of Zeus showing the power of the king. These coins were used for everything. Soldiers were paid with them. Traders used them to buy goods. The government collected taxes in coins. A big change from using salt shells. After the Greeks, the Romans came to North Africa. The Roman Empire controlled Egypt, Carthage, modern Tunisia, the North African coast. The Romans brought the denarius. These silver coins were used across the empire, in Britain, Africa. Local mints in Alexandria. Carthage made Roman coins too. They looked just like coins from Rome. They had the emperor's face on one side, a way to show who was in charge. These coins tell us about life in ancient North Africa. They show who held power and what they valued. Some Roman coins made in Africa showed farming symbols like wheat. North Africa was vital for feeding Rome. It was called the breadbasket of Rome. Coins were not just money, they were communication. They spread the emperor's image and Rome's power across the continent. While Egypt and North Africa were using Greek and Roman coins, a powerful African kingdom began to make its own. This was the kingdom of Aksum, located in what is now modern Ethiopia and Eritrea. Around the year 270 AD, the Aksumite king Endubis decided to create his own money. This was a very important decision. It showed that Aksum was a strong and independent kingdom. The first Aksumite coins were made of gold and silver. They had the king's portrait on them just like Roman coins. Designs were unique and changed over time. Early coins had writing in Greek because Aksum traded with the Greek-speaking world. The coins of King Endubis had his picture with a crown of wheat. On the other side there was another image of him. This was unusual. But the most interesting change happened with a king named Ezana in the 4th century AD. King Ezana became a Christian. To show this, he changed the coins. He removed the old symbols of the sun and moon and replaced them with a cross. Aksum was one of the first kingdoms in the world to put the cross on its coins. This is a fascinating fact that many people do not know. It shows how important Christianity was to the kingdom. The coins were made of gold, silver, and bronze. The gold coins were used for international trade, especially with the Roman Empire in India. The silver and bronze coins were used for local buying and selling. This system of using different metals for different purposes was very advanced for its time. It helped the Aksumite economy grow strong. The coins of Aksum are like small history books. They tell us the names of kings that we would not know otherwise. They show us the kingdom's religion and its connections to the world. For example, the use of Greek shows their trade links. The cross shows their faith. The high quality of the gold shows their wealth. For Americans who might only know about Egyptian pyramids, the story of Aksum and its beautiful coins reveals another great civilization from Africa's ancient past. Aksum continued to make coins for several hundred years, leaving behind a wonderful numismatic legacy. After the fall of the Roman Empire, a new power rose in North Africa. In the 7th century AD, Arab armies spread across the region, bringing with them the Islamic religion. This started a new chapter in the history of African coinage. The new Islamic rulers, or caliphs, began to make their own coins. At first, these coins looked like the Byzantine coins that were already there. But soon, they developed a completely new style. This style was very different from the Greek-Roman Aksumite. Instead of pictures of kings or gods, these new coins had only writing. This writing was in Arabic script. The words were usually from the Quran, the holy book of Islam. They also included the name of the ruler, the date, the place the coin was made. This type of design is called aniconic, which means without images. This was a major change in the history of money. The coins were beautiful in their own way, with elegant calligraphy. The most important coins were the gold dinar, the silver dirham. Many different Islamic dynasties ruled North Africa and made these coins. One of the earliest and most important was the Fatimid Caliphate. The Fatimids controlled Egypt, Tunisia, Sicily. They became incredibly wealthy from trade. Their gold dinars were famous for their high quality. The gold was so pure that these coins were accepted by traders everywhere, from Spain to India. The Fatimids got their gold from West Africa, carrying it across the Sahara Desert in large caravans. This trade made North African cities like Cairo very rich. These Islamic coins tell a story of trade, religion, power. The writing on them confirms the ruler's authority and faith. The high quality of the metal shows the wealth of the kingdom. For someone unfamiliar with this history, it might be surprising to learn that for centuries, the most important gold coins in the Mediterranean world were made in Africa. These dinars and dirhams were the US dollars of their time. They connected Africa to a global economy that stretched across continents, all linked by the beautiful Arabic script on these small pieces of gold and silver. For a long time, historians thought that kingdoms in sub-Saharan West Africa did not make their own coins. We knew they were famous for their gold. Stories were told about powerful empires like Ghana, Mali. The most famous story is about Mansa Musa, the king of the Mali Empire. In 1324, he made a pilgrimage, or Hajj, to Mecca. He traveled with a huge caravan. He carried so much gold that when he spent it in Cairo, the price of gold there dropped for many years. This story shows the incredible wealth of West Africa. For many years we knew Mansa Musa had a lot of gold, but we had no coins with his name on them. We thought the Mali Empire only traded gold dust, nuggets. They used this gold to buy salt, cloth, other goods, from North African merchants. These merchants paid for the gold with Islamic dinars. So, for a long time, people in West Africa used coins from other places. This was the common understanding. But a recent discovery changed everything. It was a discovery that rewrites a part of African history. In the 1990s, a few very rare gold coins were found. These coins looked like the dinars made by the Marinid dynasty in Morocco. But the writing on them was slightly different. After careful study, historians realized what they were. They were dinars made for Mansa Musa himself. The coins have his name on them, written in Arabic. This was an amazing discovery. It proved that the Mali Empire did not just trade gold dust. It also minted its own beautiful gold coins, just like the powerful kingdoms in North Africa and Europe. These coins are incredibly rare. Only a handful are known to exist. They are a direct link to the legendary wealth of Mansa Musa. For Americans who learn about European kings and queens, the story of Mansa Musa and his golden coins is an eye-opener. It shows a powerful and wealthy African king who was a major player on the world stage. The coin is physical proof of the Mali Empire's sophistication. It was not just a source of raw materials, it was a complex state that created its own symbols of power and wealth, equal to any other kingdom of its time. On the other side of the continent, along the warm waters of the Indian Ocean, another great trading society emerged. This was the Swahili coast. It was a chain of busy port cities stretching from what is now Somalia all the way to Mozambique. These cities were, a mix of African, Arab, Persian, Indian cultures. One of the most powerful and wealthy of these cities was Kilwa. Located on an island off the coast of present-day Tanzania, Kilwa controlled the gold trade from the inland kingdom of Zimbabwe. Starting around the 13th century, the sultans of Kilwa began to mint their own coins. Unlike the gold dinars of North Africa, West Africa, the coins of Kilwa were made mostly of copper, some silver. This tells us something important about their use. They were probably not for international trade with faraway lands. Instead, they were likely used for everyday shopping in the local markets of Kilwa and nearby towns. People could use them to buy food pottery cloth. This was a local currency for local people. The designs of the Kilwa coins are fascinating. Like the Islamic coins of North Africa, they did not have pictures of people. Instead, they were covered in Arabic writing. The script was often arranged in beautiful geometric patterns, sometimes inside squares or circles. The writing gave the name of the sultan who made the coin. It also often included a short religious phrase, like "trusts in the Lord of all." We know the names of many sultans of Kilwa only because their names are written on these small copper coins. The story of Kilwa's coins shows a different side of African economic history. It is not a story of great empires with vast amounts of gold. It is a story of a thriving city-state with a lively local economy. These small copper coins tell us about daily life. They show us a society where people used money for their everyday needs. The famous traveler Ibn Battuta visited Kilwa in the 14th century and described it as one of the most beautiful cities he had ever seen. In the world of coins, some shapes are honestly very strange. We are used to coins that are round. But in the history of Africa and Asia, money came in many forms. One of the most unusual was the laren. A laren is not a round coin. It is a long piece of silver wire bent in half like a hairpin or a fishhook. This strange form of money was first used in the Persian Gulf region. From there, it spread with traders across the Indian Ocean. It eventually reached the Swahili coast of East Africa. The larens used on the Swahili coast are especially mysterious. They were used around the 17th and 18th centuries in cities like Pate and Mombasa. We call them fishhook money because of their shape. They were made of silver, and they often had small marks or stamps on them. These marks are very hard to read. They might be the names of local rulers or symbols of a city. Because they are so difficult to decipher, we still do not know for sure who made them or exactly where they were made. They are a puzzle for historians and coin collectors. Why would people use money shaped like a fishhook? There are a few theories. One idea is that the shape made them easy to string together and wear on a belt or a necklace. This would make them secure and easy to carry, which was important for merchants traveling long distances by sea. Another idea is that the shape was simply a tradition that came from Persia and India. People trusted this form of silver, so they continued to use it. Whatever the reason, it shows that money does not have to be round to work. The story of the laren is a great example of how connected the world was, even centuries ago. Here we have a form of money that started in Persia, was used in India, and then became part of the economy of East African cities. It is a physical object that traveled across a vast ocean network. For someone who thinks of history in terms of separate continents, the laren shows a different picture. It reveals a world linked by trade, where ideas and objects, even strange ones like fishhook money, could travel thousands of miles and be adopted by different cultures. Starting in the 15th century, but mostly in the 19th century, European countries began to colonize large parts of Africa. Britain, France, Germany, Portugal, Belgium, other European powers. This was a period of great change, and it had a huge impact on African money. The colonial powers wanted to control the economies of their new colonies. To do this, they introduced their own currencies: cowrie shells, salt bars, local coins. This was a way to tie the African economies to Europe. The colonial coins often had a very clear message. Portrait of the European king or queen, Queen Victoria, King Leopold II of Belgium. This was a symbol of power. It told everyone who was in control. On the other side, the coins often had the name of the colony, British West Africa, Afrique Équatoriale Française. The value was also written on the coin, 1 shilling 50 centimes. These coins replaced the complex and diverse money systems that existed before. The materials and designs were chosen by the Europeans: silver, copper, nickel. An interesting detail is that some British coins made for West Africa had a hole in the middle. This was done for a practical reason. Many people in the region did not have pockets in their clothes. The hole made it easy to string the coins together and wear them. This shows that the colonial powers sometimes had to adapt their money to local customs, even as they were imposing a new system. This period was the end of independent African coinage for a long time. The beautiful gold dinars of Mali and the copper coins of Kilwa were no longer made. Instead, money came from mints in London, Paris, Berlin. This system made it easier for the European powers to control trade and extract resources like rubber, cocoa, diamonds. The money became a tool of colonial rule. The history of these coins is a reminder of a difficult period in Africa's past, when foreign powers controlled the destiny of the continent. The story of African coins took another turn in the mid-20th century. After World War II, a wave of independence movements swept across the continent. Between the 1950s and 1970s, dozens of African nations gained their freedom from colonial rule. One of the first things these new countries did was create their own national currencies. This was a very important symbol of their new independence and sovereignty. They were finally in control of their own economies again, after many decades of foreign rule. The new coins celebrated African identity. The portraits of European kings and queens were gone. Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Democratic Republic of the Congo. They showed the faces of national heroes, like Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. They also displayed symbols of national pride: eagles, lions, coffee, cocoa, shillings, francs, Ghanaian, cedi, Nigerian, naira. Today, Africa is a continent with over 50 countries, and most of them have their own unique coins. The designs are honestly incredibly diverse. Some coins celebrate the country's wildlife, which is a big attraction for tourism. Elephants, giraffes, rhinos. Other coins commemorate important historical events or cultural traditions. This makes collecting modern African coins a fascinating hobby. It is like taking a tour of the continent and learning about each country's culture and history through its money. African coins have also made their mark on the international stage. Some countries, like South Africa, produce famous bullion coins. The South African Krugerrand was one of the first modern gold coins made for investors around the world. It became incredibly popular and inspired other countries to make their own gold coins. From the ancient gold of Aksum to the modern Krugerrand, the story of African coinage is one of innovation, power, and cultural identity. It is a rich history that is still being made today, one coin at a time.